The voice you hear in your head, the one that whispers doubt, floods you with fear, and strangles your ambition before it even takes its first breath, that's the enemy we're dragging into the light today. This isn't about gentle affirmations or sugar-coated self-help. This is Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian Shadow Work Exercise, and it's a deep dive into the unlit corners of your psyche to reclaim the power that insidious voice has stolen from you for far too long. If you're here, it's because you're tired of being your own worst enemy, tired of the relentless sabotage, the endless loop of self-criticism that keeps you small, stuck, and starving for the life you know you could be living. Prepare yourself, because we're not just going to talk about the inner critic. We're going to arm you with a potent Jungian strategy to face it, understand its roots in your shadow, and begin the transformative process of integrating its power rather than being crippled by its poison. This is your chance to stop being a prisoner in your own mind. This is where you learn to fight back, not with brute force, but with profound, courageous self-awareness. The path is through the shadow, and the reward is a level of inner freedom and authentic strength you may have forgotten was even possible. Let's begin. First, let's dissect this internal saboteur, this inner critic. It's more than just negative self-talk. It's a pervasive, often deeply ingrained pattern of thought that relentlessly judges, demeans, and undermines you. Its voice can be subtle, a background hum of inadequacy, or it can be a roaring tyrant, shouting down your every aspiration. It tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not worthy. It replays your past mistakes on an endless loop, magnifies your flaws, and dismisses your achievements as luck or too insignificant to matter. This critic is the architect of your procrastination, the engineer of your self-doubt, and the gatekeeper that stands between you and your potential. It thrives in the darkness of your unexamined mind, feeding on your fears and insecurities. How many opportunities have you let slip by because that voice whispered, "You'll fail, you'll be humiliated. Who do you think you are?" How many dreams have withered on the vine, choked by its relentless negativity? This isn't just casual pessimism, it's a deeply destructive force. It's the voice that makes you second-guess your decisions, compare yourself unfavorably to others, and shrink from challenges that could lead to growth. It's the reason you might feel like an imposter, even when you're competent, or why you might self-sabotage just when things start going well. It's a masterful manipulator using your own past experiences and learned beliefs against you. The brutal truth is, this critic is not an external enemy, it's a part of you. And understanding its origins is crucial to disarming it. It wasn't born overnight. Its foundations were laid in childhood, perhaps by critical parents, demanding teachers, or experiences of shame and inadequacy. It absorbed the spoken and unspoken judgments of others, the societal expectations that felt impossible to meet, the comparisons that left you feeling less than. It internalized these external voices, and over time they became your voice, an automated program running in your subconscious. Past failures, rejections, and traumas also provide ammunition for the critic. It uses these memories as proof of your inherent unworthiness, conveniently ignoring your resilience, your growth, or any extenuating circumstances. It's a biased historian, selectively highlighting every stumble and minimizing every victory. Society, too, plays its part, bombarding us with idealized images of success, beauty, and happiness, creating fertile ground for the critic to point out all the ways we fall short. This critic, in many ways, is a misguided attempt at self-protection. It believes that by keeping you small, by warning you of potential failure or judgment, it's keeping you safe from pain. But its methods are toxic, its protection a cage. Listening to it, believing its narrative without question, is a recipe for a diminished life, a life lived in the shadows of your true capabilities. You end up playing not to lose instead of playing to win. You prioritize avoiding criticism over pursuing your passions. This is the insidious power of the unexamined inner critic. It masquerades as realism or humility, but it is, in reality, a profound form of self-betrayal. To begin confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, you must first acknowledge the sheer destructive force it has wielded in your life. No more downplaying it, no more excusing it. See it for what it is, the primary obstacle to your peace and your power. Now let's bring in the concept of Jungian shadow work, the powerful framework underpinning our Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, introduced the idea of the shadow as the unconscious part of our personality, the repository for all the aspects of ourselves that we have repressed, denied, or disowned. Think of it as a dark sack we drag behind us, filled with everything we don't want to see or admit about ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, our perceived flaws, our socially unacceptable impulses, but also, crucially, our undeveloped talents, our unexpressed creativity, our raw power, and our hidden strengths. The shadow isn't inherently evil or negative. It's simply that which we are not conscious of. It's formed as we grow, as we learn what is acceptable and unacceptable from our families, our cultures, and our societies. We push parts of ourselves into the shadow to fit in, to be loved, to avoid shame or punishment. If anger was forbidden, your assertiveness might live in the shadow. If creativity was mocked, your artistic talents might be hidden there. If vulnerability was seen as weakness, your capacity for deep connection might be repressed. Ignoring the shadow is perilous. What we don't own owns us. Repressed shadow material doesn't just disappear, it festers. It often projects onto others. The things we can't stand in other people are frequently reflections of our own disowned shadow traits. It drives compulsive behaviors, irrational fears, and yes, it fuels the inner critic. The inner critic often acts as a kind of guard dog for the shadow, viciously attacking any emerging trait or desire that was previously banished. It screams, "Don't you dare be ambitious," if ambition was shamed. It sneers, "You're so selfish," if putting your needs first was condemned. The critic's voice is often the echo of the original voices that caused us to repress these parts of ourselves in the first place. The profound power of Jungian shadow work lies in its aim, integration. Not to eliminate the shadow, that's impossible, but to bring its contents into conscious awareness, to understand them, and to reintegrate them into a more whole and authentic self. This is courageous work. It means facing the parts of yourself you've deemed ugly, shameful, or unacceptable. But within that darkness lies immense energy, vitality, and authenticity. When you reclaim aspects from your shadow, you reclaim lost parts of your soul. You become more complete, more powerful, and paradoxically, often more compassionate, both to yourself and others. Confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, is at its heart an act of shadow integration. The critic, in its distorted way, is pointing to shadow material. Its accusations often highlight the very qualities or potentials you've disowned. By engaging with the critic through the lens of shadow work, you're not just silencing a negative voice. You're embarking on a journey to uncover hidden strengths, heal old wounds, and build a more resilient, authentic self. It's about understanding that the critic, however harsh, might be holding a key to a part of you that needs to be seen, understood, and brought back into the light. This is the path from self-sabotage to self-mastery. It requires honesty, a willingness to be uncomfortable, and a deep desire for genuine transformation. Now we arrive at the core of Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise. This is where we move from understanding to action. This is the battlefield and the strategy. This exercise is a form of active imagination, a technique Jung himself championed for engaging with the unconscious. It's a deliberate, structured confrontation designed to transform your relationship with this internal saboteur. Preparation, setting the stage for confrontation. Before you dive in, preparation is key. This isn't a casual mental chat, it's a significant internal process. First, set a clear intention. Your intention might be, I intend to understand my inner critic, its origins, and its messages so I can reclaim my power. Or, I intend to meet my inner critic with courage and curiosity to learn what it's trying to protect and what shadow aspects it represents. Write it down if that helps solidify it. Second, create a safe and undisturbed space. This could be a quiet room where you won't be interrupted, or even a dedicated time in nature if that feels right. Turn off your phone, inform anyone you live with that you need solitude. The external environment should support your internal exploration. Third, cultivate the right mindset. This is paramount. Approach this exercise with courage. You're facing a part of yourself that can feel overwhelmingly negative. It takes guts. Honesty, radical self-honesty is non-negotiable. No sugarcoating, no deflecting. Curiosity instead of immediate judgment or defensiveness towards the critic. Try to adopt a stance of curiosity. Why is it saying this? What's underneath? Non-judgment as much as possible. You are observing and interacting with a part of your psyche. The goal isn't to beat it into submission in this initial dialogue, but to understand it. Willingness to be uncomfortable. Shadow work can bring up difficult emotions and memories. This discomfort is often a sign you're on the right track. Allow whatever arises to arise without immediately trying to suppress it. Now take a few deep breaths, center yourself. Remind yourself that you are undertaking this for your own liberation and growth. You are strong enough to do this. Step 1. Identifying and personifying the critic. The first active step in confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, is to make the abstract concrete. Your inner critic feels diffuse, pervasive. We need to give it form. Begin by actively listening for its voice. Tune into its specific phrases, the typical accusations it hurls at you. Does it always say, "You're an idiot," or "You'll never amount to anything," or "They're all going to laugh at you"? Notice the tone. Is it sarcastic, condescending, fearful, angry? Collect these phrases, perhaps even jot them down. Become an impartial observer of its patterns. Now we move to personification. This is a powerful Jungian technique. Close your eyes and, based on its voice, its messages, its emotional impact on you, allow an image of your inner critic to arise. Don't force it, but invite it. What does it look like? Is it human, animal, monstrous, or something else entirely? Is it old or young, male or female, or genderless? What is it wearing? What expression does it have on its face? What is its posture, its energy? Give it a name. This act of naming is incredibly important. It separates the critic from you, from your core identity. It makes it an other that you can interact with rather than an all-encompassing truth about who you are. It could be a harsh name like the judge, the saboteur, or something more specific that resonates with its particular flavor of criticism for you, like Mr. Perfectionist or the fear monger. Spend some time with this image. Make it as vivid as possible in your mind's eye. This personification is crucial because it externalizes the critic, allowing you to engage with it rather than be consumed by it. This isn't just a mental trick, it's about recognizing that this critical voice, while internal, functions like a distinct subpersonality. By giving it form, you begin to diminish its omnipotence. It becomes something you can face. Step 2. The dialogue, active imagination. With your critic personified and named, you are ready for the dialogue. This is the heart of the confrontation. You can do this through journaling, writing out the dialogue as if it's a script, or purely through visualization and internal conversation. Writing is often more powerful as it makes the exchange more concrete and allows for later reflection. Address your critic by the name you've given it. You are initiating this conversation. You are in control of starting it. Begin by asking it direct, open-ended questions. Here are some powerful questions to fuel your dialogue. A critic's name: I see you, I hear you. What is your primary message for me right now? Let it speak. Write down or listen to its typical barrage of criticism without interrupting, just observing. Why do you say these things to me? What is your purpose in telling me this? What are you trying to protect me from? This is a key question. Critics often believe they are protective, however misguidedly. What are you afraid will happen if I don't listen to you? What's the worst-case scenario you envision? When did you first appear in my life? Can you remember the circumstances? This can lead to insights about its origins. Whose voice do you really sound like? Is there someone from my past whose words you are echoing? What do you really want for me? Beneath all the criticism, what is your deepest positive intention, if any? It might struggle with this or reveal a surprisingly vulnerable core need. What part of me do you represent? What quality or fear in me gives you your power? This directly links to the shadow. What would happen to you if I stopped believing you? Listen carefully to the answers. If you're writing, write down what it says. Try to capture its tone, its emotional state. Does it sound angry, scared, sad, arrogant? Don't argue or get defensive initially. Your first goal is to understand its perspective, its logic, however flawed. You are gathering intelligence. You are allowing the unconscious to speak. This part of Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian Shadow Work Exercise, is about courageous listening. It's about shining a light into that part of your psyche. The critic is used to operating in the dark, unopposed. By bringing it into conscious dialogue, you are already changing the dynamic. You might be surprised by its answers. Sometimes the critic, when truly questioned, deflates or reveals a surprising vulnerability or a distorted, archaic protective function. Be patient. This dialogue might be short, or it might unfold over several sessions. Step 3. Acknowledging and understanding its distorted message. Once the critic has had its say and you've probed its motives and origins, the next step is to analyze its communication. This isn't about agreeing with its harshness, but about looking for any kernel of truth, any distorted signal, or any disowned need hidden beneath the barrage of negativity. Ask yourself, is there any, even 1% truth to what it's saying, stripped of its venom and exaggeration? For example, if it screams, "You're lazy and undisciplined," is there a part of you that genuinely wants more structure or is avoiding a difficult task? The critic's solution, shame and inaction, is wrong, but the observation of an unmet need for discipline might have a sliver of validity. What fear is driving its message? If it says, "Don't try that, you'll fail and everyone will laugh," the underlying fear is likely of shame, rejection, or inadequacy. Recognizing the fear helps you see the critic not as an all-powerful judge, but as a terrified part of you. What disowned quality might it be pointing to? If the critic relentlessly attacks your attempts at being assertive, it might be because assertiveness itself was punished or shamed in your past and now resides in your shadow. The critic is trying to keep it locked away. If it mocks your creative ideas, perhaps your playful, innovative side was suppressed. How is its protective function actually harming you? If it claims to be protecting you from failure, show in your internal dialogue or journal how its methods actually guarantee failure by preventing you from even trying, or how it cripples your confidence so much that you underperform. This step is about discernment. It's about separating the often toxic delivery from the sometimes fear-based, sometimes distortedly perceptive underlying message or function. You are looking for the signal in the noise. For instance, a critic that constantly harps on your appearance might be a distorted expression of a desire to be healthy or to feel more confident, but it has become twisted into self-loathing. By understanding its distorted logic, you gain power over it. You're no longer just a victim of its attacks, you're an analyst deciphering its code. This intellectual understanding is a crucial part of Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, as it moves you from emotional reactivity to conscious engagement. Step 4. Reclaiming disowned parts, shadow integration. This is where the Jungian shadow work aspect of Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, truly comes to the fore. The critic, as we've seen, often guards the gates to your shadow. Its fiercest attacks are frequently aimed at preventing you from expressing or embracing qualities that you were taught to disown. Based on your dialogue and understanding from Step 3, identify what positive or neutral qualities your inner critic seems to be actively suppressing or is a distorted expression of. If your critic attacks your ambition, could it be that a healthy drive to achieve was once shamed as selfish or arrogant, and now that powerful ambition languishes in your shadow? The critic is trying to keep it there. If your critic calls you weak or too sensitive when you express emotion, could it be that your capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and deep connection was dismissed, and now these vital human qualities are relegated to the shadow? If your critic tells you you're not smart enough to pursue a certain intellectual path, could it be a disowned intellectual curiosity or a fear of outshining others that was conditioned out of you? The act of reclaiming is about consciously choosing to reintegrate these disowned parts. This means acknowledging the value of the disowned quality. See how that ambition, sensitivity, or curiosity could actually serve you. Understand that it's not inherently bad, it was just labeled that way. Making a conscious decision to express it in healthy ways. How can you begin to embody this reclaimed quality in small, manageable steps? If it's ambition, what's one small goal you can set? If it's sensitivity, how can you honor your emotional responses rather than suppress them? Recognizing that the critic's attack is often a sign you're touching on something important and powerful within you. Its alarm bells go off when you get close to these shadow energies. Use its criticism as a compass pointing towards areas of potential growth and integration. For example, you might say to your critic internally or in your journal, "I understand you attack my desire to speak up because, in the past, speaking up led to punishment. You think you're protecting me, but I see now that my voice, my assertiveness, is a strength I need. I am choosing to reclaim it." This reclamation is an act of profound self-acceptance and empowerment. You are literally taking back pieces of yourself that were lost or hidden. This is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. Each reclaimed piece from the shadow diminishes the critic's territory and increases your own internal resources and resilience. Step 5. Negotiating a new relationship/setting boundaries. The final step in this specific exercise of confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, is to redefine your relationship with this internal voice. You've identified it, dialogued with it, understood its distorted messages, and begun the process of reclaiming what it suppressed. Now you establish new terms of engagement. This isn't about obliterating the critic. As a psychological function, however distorted, it may always be there in some form. The goal is to neutralize its destructive power, reduce its volume and frequency, and transform it from a tyrant into, at best, a distant, occasionally misguided advisor, or at worst, a noisy but ultimately powerless background presence. Acknowledge its misguided attempts to protect if applicable. Thank you, critic's name, for trying to protect me even if your methods were harmful and based on old fears. I recognize that, at some level, you thought you were helping. This can sometimes disarm it, as it's rarely, if ever, thanked. Assertively state your new terms. This is crucial. You are now the one in charge. For example, I will no longer allow you to dictate my actions or my self-worth with your fear-based negativity. I hear your concerns if there's a kernel of valid caution, but I will make my own decisions based on my current values and wisdom, not your outdated programming. When you speak with harshness and judgment, I will recognize it as your fear, and I will choose not to internalize it. Your role is no longer to be my primary decision maker or my judge. I am taking back that authority. Define a new, more constructive role if possible. Sometimes the critic's energy can be rechanneled. Perhaps you can alert me to potential pitfalls, but you must do so calmly and rationally without insults. I will then consider your input alongside other factors. This is an advanced step and may not be immediately possible. The primary goal is to reduce its dominance. Commit to ongoing awareness. I will continue to observe you, to notice when you arise, and to challenge your validity rather than automatically believing you. This negotiation is about establishing your sovereignty. You are drawing a line in the sand. You are communicating to this part of your psyche that the old dynamic is over. This isn't a one-time fix, but a powerful declaration of intent that, when practiced, fundamentally shifts your internal landscape. You are training yourself to identify the critic's voice quickly, to see it for what it is, a conditioned pattern, a collection of old fears, and to consciously choose a different response, one rooted in self-awareness and self-compassion rather than self-flagellation. Living beyond the critic after engaging deeply with Confronting Your Inner Critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, is an ongoing practice, not a final destination. The critic may not vanish entirely. It's a deeply ingrained pattern, often a lifelong companion in some muted form, but its power over you will be profoundly diminished. The goal is not silence, but sovereignty. The echoes of its voice might still surface, especially during times of stress, challenge, or when you're pushing your boundaries. But now you possess the tools of awareness. You can recognize its signature, its tired old arguments, and you no longer have to automatically believe them or be paralyzed by them. You can say, "Ah, there's that old story again," observe it without judgment, and consciously choose not to engage or internalize its venom. Building self-compassion becomes a vital antidote. Where the critic offered harshness, you now offer yourself understanding. Where it highlighted flaws, you now acknowledge your humanity, your imperfections, and your efforts. Self-compassion isn't self-pity or making excuses. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend who is struggling. It's recognizing that suffering and imperfection are part of the human experience. This is an active counterforce to the critic's cruelty. Developing mental toughness is also key. This means cultivating the resilience to hear the critic's chatter without letting it derail you. It means understanding that thoughts are just thoughts, they are not necessarily facts, and they certainly don't define your worth. You learn to create a space between the critic's utterance and your reaction, and in that space lies your freedom and your power to choose a more empowering response. The freedom that comes from mastering this internal dynamic is immense. Imagine the energy that will be liberated when it's no longer consumed by internal battles and self-sabotage. Imagine the clarity of mind, the confidence to pursue your goals, the ability to take risks and embrace challenges without that constant, undermining voice. This is the new landscape that opens up. It's a landscape where you are guided by your authentic self, your integrated strengths and your conscious choices, rather than by old fears and conditioned limitations. The work of confronting your inner critic and integrating your shadow is perhaps one of the most profound journeys of self-improvement you can undertake. It unlocks not just peace of mind, but a wellspring of authentic power, creativity, and resilience that allows you to navigate life with greater courage and purpose. This path isn't easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. So we've journeyed deep into the territory of confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise. We've unmasked this internal saboteur, understood its insidious tactics and its origins. We've explored the profound Jungian concept of the shadow, recognizing it not as a monster to be slain, but as a hidden treasure trove of disowned power and authenticity. And most importantly, we've detailed a concrete, actionable exercise, a strategic confrontation to identify, dialogue with, understand, and ultimately transform your relationship with that critical voice. You now have the steps. Prepare your mind, personify the critic, engage in courageous dialogue, dissect its distorted messages, reclaim the vital parts of yourself it has suppressed, and negotiate a new, empowered relationship. This is not a quick fix or a superficial trick. This is deep psychological work that demands your courage, your honesty, and your commitment. The path to silencing the tyranny of your inner critic and integrating your shadow is a continuous practice, a way of being more conscious, more whole. The real work begins now with your willingness to take these insights and apply them. That voice will not relinquish its power easily. It will test you, but now you are armed. You have a map and a strategy. The call to action is clear. Undertake this exercise. Do the work. Confront that critic not with anger but with fierce, unwavering awareness. Dive into your shadow not with fear but with the courageous curiosity of an explorer seeking lost treasure. Each time you choose to observe the critic instead of obeying it, each time you reclaim a piece of your shadow, you shift the balance of power within you. You become more of who you truly are, less of who you were conditioned to be. The promise of confronting your inner critic, a Jungian shadow work exercise, is the promise of liberation. Liberation from self-sabotage, from fear, from the invisible chains that have held you back. Embrace this challenge. Commit to this journey of self-reclamation. Your authentic power, your peace of mind, and the life you are truly meant to live are waiting on the other side of this confrontation. Start today. Take back your mind. Take back your life.